Hello everyone, my name is Anderson. I am a PhD student at the University of Brescia. My PhD project is about hubware, and I'm continuing my studies about hubware and friction, which was the article from Pearson, Hubble friction, the whole of the flash temperature. So, continue from where I stopped. Let's put motivational music here. Resident Evil in the bottom. Okay.
Connessione ADSK-TOP-87 riuscita.
Okay. So, continue from the last video. I stopped at stationary sliding. Let's finish this. Finished. So in this section, Pearson develops a general expression for the friction acting on a rubber block sliding at constant velocity. So I took advantage of this drawing that I made previously, but we have a rubber block sliding at constant velocity. So we have V. V has no variation in time, so it's fixed. And a randomly rough substrate. So there is a CQ, there is a H0, there is R, and which is the other parameter? It's here lambda 0 and lambda. Okay, we have these parameters describing the surface, and here we have the zoom of the contact. Okay, just to keep it okay. Black, and here our arrow. Perfect. So this is the case, and now Pearson wants to account also for the temperature. So, actually, not this. These are the parameters regarding the surface roughness. Surface roughness. And these here are the temperature, which are the conditions. And here at the contact, we have also a temperature. This is the background temperature. So we include a thermal overlap between the heat produced in the microasperity contact area inside every macroasperity contact area. So to explain this, let's pick this one here. have more or less like this. So what Pearson is saying is we considering the effects of overlap between heat produced in the microasperity contact area inside the macroasperity. So we have here this dN, and then we have here a volume in which the energy is dissipated, but this affects the cases at the vicinity. This affects the cases at the vicinity. In other words, this is the energy overlap. This is what Pearson is trying to say. Okay. So there is an overlap in the macroasperity. So this overlap is the temperature rise at one microasperity contact area will produce a subsequent temperature rise in the neighboring of the contact. So we have let's put it here. No. The at asperity N has an influence on the temperature of the asperity at the vicinity. Let's call N+1, for example. This asperity here, N+1. So the energy here affects the energy in the black region and in the green region, and then in the subsequent asperities. So what this means? This means that the energy at N affects the energy at N+1 asperity, and the temperature in N affects the temperature in the asperity N+1. Okay, and what Pearson does is considering a mean field approximation. Basically, according to the author, it laterally smears out the heat sources associated with the macroasperity contacts within a macroasperity micro asperity contacts within a macro asperity contact, which should be an excellent approximation. I will just draw this. We can use the same drawing here. Duplicate. Let's put this here, and okay, here. What happens? We have this. Okay, so let's draw in another color. Let's pick this color here. Okay, you have this affecting the rubber. Okay, but the region Ok, vai. Sai. Sai, porra. This is the volume affected by this macro asperity. And the micro, you see, okay. So, and then we have D, but let's call this D2, which causes a temperature T2, for example, okay, inside this region. And then we have D1, which is the macro asperity. The macro asperity. Yeah? Which is the macro asperity. Okay? Which causes a temperature rise T1. Okay? So laterally smear out the here sources associated with micro asperity contacts. So this one, T2, let's T3, okay, D4, D4, okay, so which should be an excellent approximation. Okay, this is what the author is doing, considering all these minor asperities. So perfect. Mean field approximation, basically an average. Okay. Okay, the flash temperature when a rubber block is sliding on a hard substrate with surface roughness on different Mann scales has the following aspects, which is the one that we see in the drawing. The basic problem when we see this drawing here, the mean field approximation, considering a case of two length scales, so just D1 and D2, where a large asperity is covered by small asperities, as we see. So this is the problem now, a sort of multi-scale problem, multi-asperity. There is another D, there is another lambda. Okay, in the response to the large asperity, there will be a heating of the rubber in the big volume element of linear size D1. Okay, we already observed this. So let's write here. Heating of the rubber on the big, larger rubber volume element with size D1. If T0 denotes the background temperature, T0, let's write T0. I think we can T0, T0. Then the flash temperature in the large volume element will be higher. Say, so the flash temperature T1 will be T0 plus delta T1, the variation on T1. Then the flash temperature in a small asperity subsequently will be T2 and T equal T1 plus delta T2. Okay. For surfaces with roughness on many length scales, the temperature will increase as we go to smaller and smaller asperity contact regions. The smaller on surfaces with many length scales, the smaller the length scale, smaller the asperity, the higher the temperature increasing. Why? Let's try to find this. And now it's time for the numerology. The average shear stress, according to the author, is given by sigma m. I have sigma f, which is from friction, and I have A0, nominal contact area, divided by A in function of the magnification, zeta m, where sigma f, as I already said, nominal friction, shear stress, A zeta in function of zeta m is the macro asperity contact area observed at a given magnification zeta, usually in this case equal to zeta m, which is equal to lambda 0 lambda m, which is equal to qm q0. This is in the order of unity. So sigma m will be equal 1 divided by 2 second derivative of q times q2 times cosine of phi, the direction of the asperities. Okay, if the asperities are oriented along the sliding direction, nice. If it is 90 degrees oriented with respect to the sliding direction, bad. So times power spectral density times the fraction of the relative fraction of the contact areas, considering the P for QM, times the imaginary value of the elastic modulus in function of Q V cosine phi times in function of TQ divided by 1 minus the Poisson ratio. TQ is an effective temperature in the volume of the rubber involved in the calculation of the contribution to rubber friction from surface roughness on a length scale lambda equal to 2pq. Once defined the stress, we go to the energy dissipated. Let the author call this J. So V divided by 2 integral of second derivative of Q times Q square value times cosine phi cosine CQ divided by P from Q, ou seja, in other words, the relative fraction for the case considering of wave vector Q, the relative fraction for the case considering the wave vector Qm, times the imaginary contribution of E in function of Q, V times cosine phi, and TQ divided by 1 minus Poisson ratio square value. Okay? This is valid for asperities on a length scale lambda equals lambda, which is equal divided by 2p over q. This energy Okay, here is the energy dissipated. Now we need the energy. So let's stress energy dissipated Now let's try to find the energy produced. No, energy production. Okay. So for this case, the energy production suffers a decay. And this decay can be calculated by from this equation of energy production, but introducing, we use this previous equation J, but we introduce a factor, but the author don't specifies where. Okay, let's continue. I didn't understand. So introducing a factor. This factor is the exponential of minus 2q the vertical distance z over the integral between from 0 to the infinite of the derivative of the vertical direction times the exponential of minus 2qz, and this is equal to 2q an exponential of minus 2qz. Okay, we introduce this factor in this equation, and we have the energy production equation, which I already mentioned in the previously videos, which is Q dot. Q dot, energy production in function of zeta and temperature and time. And then we have theta, function of time, divided by v divided by times v divided by 2, which is the velocity. And then we have the integral of the second derivative of q times q squared over 2 times 2 q cubic value times the exponential of minus 2qz times cosine phi times cq times the fraction of the contact areas for Q and QM times the imaginary part of elastic modulus in function of QV cosine phi and the temperature dq over 1 minus Poisson ratio at square value. The term theta is a step function. Is a step function defined by the author since it is considering that the energy production starts at t from time equals 0, so 0 seconds. So the step function is given by theta in function of time equal to minus 1 divided by 2 pi, the complex term, the integral of the derivative of the frequency times 1 divided by the frequency plus the complex term times epsilon, which is the strain. No. Positive infinitesimal number. Epsilon here is not the strain. And times the exponential, which is minus I omega frequency and time, where E is a infinitesimal, positive infinitesimal number. Okay. Decimal. Okay. Positive infinitesimal number. Then we have to remember that the objective here is to solve the heat diffusion equation. Just to say that, because when the heat diffusion equation returns, we have to consider that. So, let's develop the exponential of minus 2 times q and the absolute value of z. This will be equal to minus 1. No. 1 divided by 2p times the integral dk times 4 times q, and this divided by k square value plus 4 times q square value times the exponential of I, q, and z. Okay. Understanding this and applying this on the reproduction equation, we can obtain a new form and also perform some manipulations, which these are q dot energy production in function of z and time divided by rho times the specific heat, the volumetric specific heat, and this is equal to the integral from 0 to infinite of the derivative of the wave vector times a function in f dependent on the wave vector times minus 1 divided by I, the complex term, times 2p, the Greek letter, square value of both. Okay. Square value of 2p, not I. Ho, ho, ho. Then the integral of the derivative of omega of the frequency, the derivative times the derivative of k, which I don't know which is this parameter k. I'm curious. Times the fraction 1 divided by omega plus complex term times the infinitesimal positive number and times four q divided by q square value, k square value plus 4 times q square value. All of these multiplied by the exponential of I times k times z minus omega times t. Okay, but here we have in a term fk f from q, which we don't know what it is. So I don't know what it is, this parameter, but Pearson does. And he says that f is a function of the wave vector, which is equal to the velocity times the wave vector at the power of 4, the density times the volumetric heat, specific heat, all of these times the power spectral density times that fraction between the relative fractions, so the p from pq, the p in function of q, and the p in function of qm, times the integral of the derivative of the angle phi of the asperities, the times the cosine of phi times the imaginary part of a function which involves the elastic modulus in function of q, v, cosine phi, and temperature tq, and 1 minus, give me 0, 1 minus v ni square value, which is the Poisson ratio. Okay, so here we have a relationship and also defined the term f. To solve the heat diffusion equation, so then heat diffusion equation, partial T, the partial derivative of the temperature per time, the diffusivity, times the square value of the gradient of the temperature. This is equal to Q dot energy production by the rho times the volumetric specific heat. And here this is a function of x, bold x, in time, which this x is a vector given by xy. Okay, to solve this equation, it is necessary a boundary condition. So we have to say that z on the surface is 0, and an assumption that the partial derivative of the temperature by the vertical direction is equal to 0 when z is 0. So basically this is the neglection of the heat transfer from the rubber to the substrate. The rubber to the substrate. Okay. This is according to person. This is useful for high sliding velocities. High, not so high. Which is a sliding velocity which is compatible for automotive cases, basically. But at slow sliding velocity, it will give rise to an overestimation of the flash temperature. So let's write this. Good for high sliding velocities, which is quite obvious, né? High sliding velocities. Bad, not bad, but overestimate the flash temperature for low sliding velocities. Okay. 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 What the author is saying is, even though I have an overestimation of the flat temperature, the flat temperature is not so important. The flash temperature is not so important. Thus, it is possible to assume, and then we write partial derivative of the temperature by zeta, the vertical direction, when z equal 0, so in other words, at the surface will be 0. This is very similar to assume this minus infinite, bigger, lower than zeta, which is lower than positive infinite. In other words, heat diffusion for a long solid. Okay, with a symmetric heat source. This heat source is obtained using that exponential. And for this reason, it was in some of the passages, it goes from 2qz to the exponential of minus 2q and the absolute value of z. Then we can take those equations, those considerations, and substitute in the temperature equation developed for the single scale model. Eu escrevi aqui, deixa eu ver. Found you. What the fuck? Ué, escrevi não? Não escrevi não. Ho, 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 ho. T equal T0 plus Q0 times H0 square value times imaginary contribution of elastic modulus over rho divided by volumetric specific heat. Okay, I will substitute this. This is for the single length asperity. Then we have multi length asperity. Okay. And then replacing this, we have t in function of z t time, which is t0 plus, let's put a little bit lower because this is a big equation. T in function of omega, not omega, z vertical direction time. This is equal to the background temperature plus the integral from 0 to infinite of the derivative of the wave vector times the function q, the function f, times minus 1 divided by 2p square value times, and then we have here a big integral, which is the derivative of the frequency times derivative of k no. Oh god. No. we have T0, the background temperature, plus the integral from 0 to infinite of the derivative of the wave vector times the function f of q, 1 times 1 divided by 2p, and the integral of the derivative of the parameter k times 1 divided by d, which is the diffusivity, times k square value, times 1 minus the exponential of the negative of the diffusivity times the k square value and t. And this times the 4 times q divided by k square value plus 4 times q square value times the exponential of the complex number of k times z. We have a more complex equation. The optimum spatially uniform temperature to be used when calculating the contribution to the friction from surface roughness on the late scale, lambda 2p divided by q, can be obtained by dq is integral from 0 to infinite of derivative of the vertical direction times the temperature function in function of z and time times the exponential of minus 2qz. Okay. Okay, everything divided by the integral of 0 to infinite times the derivative of the vertical direction times the exponential again of minus 2qz. Then we have here a system which we will give a temperature. Remember that this temperature TQ considers the wave vector being used at the moment. So it is the temperature when we increase the magnification. TQ is equal to background temperature plus the integral of from 0 to infinite of the derivative of q prime times a function j in function of q and q prime times a function f in function of q prime. So new parameters. Okay. Yeah. New parameters. So the parameter GQ. What the fuck is this? Let's see it. According to Pearson, GQ is okay, thank you. GQ is G from Q and Q prime is equal to 1 divided by P, the integral from 0 to infinite, dk, derivative of k, times 1 divided by diffusivity times the k square value times 1 minus the exponential of minus diffusivity k square value d0 times 4 times the wave vector prime k square value plus 4 times the vector prime square value, and then the same thing here, but for q, 4 times q square value, which is the wave vector under consideration, k2 plus 4 times q square value. An important point here. We have a parameter times 0, which is approximately times 0 is approximately equal to r, the radius of curvature of the asperity, and divided by the velocity. This is the half time is the half of the time of in which a rubber is in contact with a macroasperity. But this is a rough measurement. It's important to say. Okay. From the single asperity case, we also took advantage of the definition of the elastic modulus, which is E omega t, T from temperature, capital letter T. But for this case, we have a term, a constant B t times the elastic modulus in function of a frequency, a constant AT, and a background temperature T0, capital letter T0. Here we have the parameters from the double F transformation. Okay. These parameters are our functions of the temperature. Okay, let's put this music. These parameters are all functions of the temperature. Are usually measured by rheological approaches, which is an approach to measure the Hubble properties. Then, for the case of rubber, for unfilled rubber, it's important to mention BT is approximately 1, and AT is given by the double LF equation, log AT. No. The equation that I will put here for information. Okay, AT is given by this equation. Okay, you can take advantage of this equation here, which is the double F transform. But for unfilled rubbers, BT can be approximately 1. The point is, for most majority cases, rubbers are filled. So, at the end, which is the difference from the multi-single asperity to the multi-asperity? 4. Therefore, 4 multi-asperity case without velocity variation and after obtained TQ, the friction coefficient will be described as follows. Let's write. Okay, me is approximately equal to 1 divided by 2 from Q0, lower bound wave vector, lower cutoff wave vector, upper cutoff wave vector, derivative of Q times Q3 times power spectral density from Q times the relative fraction function of Q times the integral from 0 to 2p, considering derivative of the angle phi times cosine of phi times the imaginary number of the quotient between the elastic modulus and the product between the 1 minus Poisson ratio square value times the normal stress, the perpendicular stress, the nominal pressure. So the elastic modulus is a function of the wave vector times the velocity times the cosine phi, because it is polar coordinates, and the temperature dq from this equation here. Let's pick this equation. Duplicate. Okay. And then we have to update the P and the function G, which are PQ, relative fraction of the contact areas, will be now 2 divided by P, integral from 0 to infinite, of the derivative of the displacement on the same direction, the displacement, no? X sine times the sine of x divided by x times the exponential form of the minus x square value times g, which is a function of q. This g, not j, is again updated to j in function of q is equal to 1 divided by 8 times the integral from q0 to q times the derivative of q with the wave vector at cubic value at the power of 3, the power spectral density times the integral from 0 to 2p of d phi, which is the angle, times the modulus of the quotient between the elastic modulus by the 1 minus Poisson H square value times the normal stress. And this elastic modulus is also a function of QV cosine phi and TQ, the temperature according to the wave vector. Close parenthesis, close modulus, and this is at the power of 2. And this is the modification for multiscale and constant velocity. Now, here is without velocity variation. Woo! Nice. Okay. There are two cases when describing the rubber friction considering the temperature. When considering the temperature. When considering the temperature, the constant velocity Tô doido, eu não tô doido. The constant and the transient velocities cases. Period. And temperature. The constant and the transient velocity cases. So we have two cases. This that I investigated here and probably don't understand anything is the one at constant velocity. Okay. Subsection. Okay. Mas tu faz fã não, mano. Mais uma esquina, mano. Patrão. Meu Deus, mal boneco. Tá, peraí. Mano, tu faz fã não. Não faz fã não. Faz fã não. Eu tava vindo me criticar. genéticos. Bem a água do mal. A break for the coffee. It's Puta que pariu, meu irmão. Where is the... Okay. Okay, close here. So, constant velocity case. So we have two cases: the constant one and the transient one. When considering the temperature on the rubber friction, the temperature effects on the rubber friction, it is fundamental to account the impact of the micro asperities which are located in just one macro asperities. asperity. Period. Why? Because these microasperities will cause energy dissipations which affects the energy dissipations of the other microasperities. Café ruim da porra, puta que pariu. Eita! The reason is that the energy dissipated in just one micro asperity affects the energy which affects the energy dissipated on the micro asperities at the vicinity, according to Pearson. No, but wait, just fuck. According to Pearson, cite Pearson 2006-1, this is called, como é que é o nome? Thermal overlap heat. Hence, the temperature increasing in 1 micro asperity motivates the same behavior on the micro asperities at the vicinity. Time is it? 20 minutes. How many time? Inside it, 1 hour and 25 minutes. Okay. 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 Is mirror out? What the fuck is this mirror out? Consequently, the temperature reached at these micro asperities is higher than the one reached at the bulk. The bulk. Which are higher than the background temperature. The point is fuck. Subsequently, these temperatures can be calculated through T1 equals T0 plus delta T1 and T2 equals T1 plus delta T2. Which are the bulk and the asperity, microasperity temperature respectively. Period. Okay. How I will explain all these equations without writing all these equations, because I cannot put all these equations in my thesis because it will be very big. Okay. This approach was feasible since Pearson assumed that smear out. What means this term? What the fuck is this? Okay. Thesaurus is mere out. What? Okay, no. Ain't. Okay. Pearson assumed that the energy dissipated by each asperity was merged with between them. CT 2006-1. Perfect. Then the author started from the stress generated at the interface, considering the magnification. Interface considering the magnification. In other words, hence the stress, the energy, and the energy and the temperature were derived considering the nominal magnification and the one considering the magnification in which the macro asperity is observed. Ai, ai, é foda. Okay, let's correct this. Okay, guys, so I think this is it. Good development. Almost done the stationary sliding. In the week, I will finish the non-stationary sliding, and this is it. The contribution from temperature is described in my thesis, rubber block dynamics. Here's another thing. I think this topic is very important. And here, yeah, nice. Let's recompile. Okay, good. Okay, so thank you for your, if you follow this, probably no, but for me is enough for today. We finish one more topic and wrote two pages of my thesis. Now I have goes from 91 to 93. See you in the next video.